What are you more scared of? COVID-19, a mutant, a variant, or as one of the texters just came up with a new thing to be scared of, a scariant. That's a good way to put it, a scariant. That's what happens. A
strain too, Howie. You have to add a strain in there.
A scariant is when a mutant and a variant get together, and it's like a mule, with a. But can a scariant reproduce, or is it like a mule, sterile? I don't know. We'll have to think about this. We'll have to bring in some of the folks who understand epidemiology. All right now it's time for Grace's News.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grace's News. Obviously, I would like to weigh in a little bit on the Governor Bacon of it all. I think that I like Governor Bacon more than Charlie Parker. I
do too right now. I think it's going to grow as the afternoon goes on, Governor Bacon. And again, it's the historical, history repeats itself here. Gaspar Bacon to Charlie Bacon.
Yeah, and there's something about bacon. I mean, it's a pretty universally loved food. People love bacon. And
people on the text line are saying that, he's been pretty rash. Get it?
Yes, very good. Howie, an update for you, which I think you'll find interesting. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about Pete Buttigieg and how he was floating this idea of taxing mileage or
trial balloon is called.
He said it showed a lot of promise. Well, I guess the Biden administration told him he had to go out and backpedal on that. So when he was on with Jay Tapper, he backtracked and he said it was not part of the conversation about this infrastructure bill. I wanted to get your take, Howie, because you were very much against this idea. Why do you think he reversed course? You think that the Biden administration said, hey, this is not going to play well?
I've been watching this my whole life in politics, Grace. Kevin White they used to put out these stories and say, Boston property tax rate to increase 120%. And everybody would freak out. And Kevin White would say, I don't know who's leaking that story. We're not going to raise taxes, but a mere 20%. And you were supposed to be happy. So now they're going to say, well, we're only going to raise the gasoline tax per gallon, 10 cents per gallon, but we're not going to charge you by the mile. That's the thing. So they scare you, and then they pull back the most frightening part of the proposal, and then you're supposed to be happy when you only get moderately screwed.
Yeah, it's like setting expectations. And it's the same thing with this virus. They make you so depressed and they ruin your life so much. And then they say, you know what? We're going to let you go back to work. And you're like, oh, thank you so much. That's so nice of you guys to give us that little nugget.
Yes, I know. Exactly.
Speaking of the infrastructure plan, Biden to announce up to $4 trillion infrastructure plan. I know you love the sound of that, Howie. $4 trillion that include massive tax hikes.
Yeah, the $4 trillion, it'll work out to about $400,000 to repair the roads. And the rest of it will go to Democrat operatives and climate consultants and diversity coordinators and in inclusion coaches.
You don't have faith in the Build Back Better plan? Or as Nancy Pelosi called it, the Bagel Back Better plan?
Did she? I haven't heard that cut.
That's really old. That was a few months ago. Yeah, she said Bagel Back Better. Not sure if it has anything to do with bacon. I mean, they seem to have this thing with breakfast foods.
Joe Biden committed to ending and crushing the virus and having a Build a Better America initiative, Bagel Back Better.
I want my bagel back, bagel back, bagel back.
You know who would support that if he were still alive?
Bagel back better.
You know who would support that? George Kirby.
Was he a big bagel guy?
Or should I say George Floyd? She meant to say George Floyd, but she said George Kirby.
I didn't know who you meant when you said that. I was like, who are you talking about? I thought it was some old politician.
To the Congressional Black Caucus who have shaped the bill. But I only will do that if you tell me that this legislation is worthy of George Kirby's name. And he said it is.
Yeah, she's we don't hear as much from Nance anymore. How you notice that?
Have you noticed that all of these aging Democrats, they all have their Governor Bacon, their George Kirby moments, and for Joe Biden, they're too many to even mention.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yesterday,
The increasing number of deaths.
Desks, doors. There's so much to keep track of. Howie, I have a slight update for you on the Andrew Cuomo VIP testing.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw this. Andrew, so we still don't have the list. You know, I know you want the list of celebs and CNN anchors who got the special treatment. But the Daily Mail does have, because the only place you can get, good news nowadays is the Daily Mail. They have a little bit of info on this. People with links to Andrew Cuomo received priority COVID tests, which we knew. Eleanor Adams, who ran nursing home tests, was allegedly sent to Chris Cuomo's home. She made several visits to test the CNN host and his family. State troopers rushed tests to labs.
Grace, this is what I don't understand, though, about this. I thought you had to get like one test. I mean, why did they have to keep making the tests over and over and over again?
I know. I don't get this either, because it says that she'd be at Chris Cuomo's house for hours long, hours long visits.
I mean, and you've had the test. I've had the test. It doesn't take hours to get the test.
No, it takes seconds, and every second of it is like, oh, I did not enjoy it. I mean, I know it's not the worst thing, but they stick that thing really far up your nose.
Yeah, I mean, was the swab up his nose for hours at a time?
When I got the test, I was with the mailroom manager because I was getting it before I came back here. And if it had taken more than 5 minutes, the mailroom manager would not have been happy because she was sitting outside, and it took seconds. I remember it.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really interrupt the day at all, like the work day. We could do it in, 5 minutes, and then I was done. So I don't know what this lady's doing for hours at Chris Cuomo's house, unless she's testing, every single member of the Cuomo family.
I tell you, I get the feeling she's very angry. I don't get the feeling that she's a Dr. Walensky who's just going to do whatever the hell they tell her to do. I get the feeling she's one of the sources of all these stories, this Dr. Eleanor Adams, who's also from Harvard Medical School, by the way.
Well, Howie, I think you're onto something. Your journalistic instincts are kicking in, because it would make sense that she wouldn't be happy, because she's running the nursing home tests as well. So if I'm running the nursing home tests, I see all these old people dying, and I see how limited these tests are for people. And then I'm getting sent to Chris Cuomo's Hamptons estate. I would be mad. I would leak it.
Last night, driving back to Palm Beach, Mark Levin played a cut that he had a year ago. On the day that they announced that they were sending the COVID-19 patients back to the nursing homes, it was amazing. This woman, she was a medical director, a physician for a hospital or a nursing home in Westchester County. And she told Mark Levin, she read from the memo from the health director, Levine, and Cuomo saying they had to send it back. And she said, "This is insane." And Mark Levin said, "Have you talked to the local reporters?" She said, "I'm talking to you." And he said, "I'm not a local reporter. You got to call the Times or the Daily News or somebody." And it was amazing. She laid it all out. And also in the fact that all these people were going to die, and they did die, and nobody followed up on it. Apparently the Wall Street Journal had a little piece of the story. People knew that this was going on, and they just looked the other way because Cuomo was at the time the vessel to get rid of Orange Man Bad.
Yeah, there was a lot of people, and they're coming out now especially, but there was another guy, Howie, who was in charge of, I think, a few nursing homes, and he called them as well and said, if you do this, people are going to die, and they ignored him. And then, I don't blame people. They say, I brought it up once, and then I just stopped, because if you're the only one speaking out against this group of people, the Cuomo administration, and they were kind of like the mafia, they would bully people and threaten people. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You tell them a few times. But what's kind of amazing about the nursing home scandal is that all of these people, like the woman you were talking about, Rochelle Walensky, impending doom and wear 3 masks and the kids can't go back to school. They're so over the top about regular people who have such a low fatality rate with this disease. And then when it came to the one time where they actually should have been hyper protective of people, it would be with the nursing homes. And they let that one go.
Right.
That was the one time they actually could have saved a lot of lives, as if they were, careful with the vulnerable population.
I think that when you really get frustrated is when you call the local media, the local newspaper specifically, and they're not interested in it. And they weren't, and these newspapers in New York, I think the Post would have gone for it, but I guess they didn't get a call because they're the ones who broke most of the stories anyway. But, the fact that the New York Times, the New York Daily News, Newsday, they didn't care about the fact that they were sending COVID-19 positive patients back into the nursing homes. It's insane. I
think that the reporters in New York, and I've read a lot about this, that they really were scared of Andrew Cuomo. And I know it sounds kind of goofy, but and how you could actually speak to this because you've had reasons to be scared before, but you still reported on things that were, maybe not in your best interest to report on. But at a certain point, you do have to say, all right, this is my job. And, I don't care if he rules the city. I'm going to do what I want, or the state, I should say. By the way, guys, Grace's News is brought to you by Toyota of Portsmouth, the house of value. I love my RAV4 XLE, but I love the process of getting it. I lease mine. It's really easy. They make it super easy for you and not intimidating. They don't pressure you to get any sort of car that, might be too expensive for you or isn't what you're looking for. They really personalize your experience. They're located just south of the Portsmouth traffic circle off of 95. Go to toyotaofportsmouth.com or visit them at the showroom and tell them Grace sent you. Howie, one last thing about this story. It says the embattled governor's relatives, including his fashion designer brother-in-law, Kenneth Cole, and high-powered friends are said to have received preferential treatment for tests at the start of the pandemic when resources were thin. Medical staff members claim they had to interrupt important COVID tasks to carry out tests for the inner circle of people connected to Cuomo. Nurses said Cuomo's family was treated like royalty, adding, I didn't understand why they were able to jump the line.
Money talks. BS walks. When they say high powered, that means campaign contributors, Grace. That's why we need the list.
It also said Cotton, executive Authority of New Jersey, and Patrick J. Foy, head of the Transportation Authority, and their wives were given priority testing, as well as Cuomo's mother, Matilda, and one of his sisters. I think the craziest part is that it took hours to do this. Like, it took up hours. Well,
someone just pointed out that probably in Chris Cuomo's case, he probably had all of his buddies from the gym.
Yeah.
And, from the local social club come over, and they were all getting tested, and they were all going, not for nothing.
Yeah, sorry, Eleanor, I'm kind of sweaty.
You and how many Marines? All that kind of macho crap that he specializes in. I'm sure that was all going on. 884. I know. We need that list of campaign contributors.
I know. I think Eleanor is the key. Oh, by the way, Howie, one last thing. I was watching Jeopardy last night, and they had a clue that you would have loved. They said, let me see if I can get this right. They said, this woman was the son. This woman was the mother of a president, and her maiden name was Fitzgerald.
Oh, I think I got that one.
Can you say it?
John Fitzgerald Kennedy, perhaps?
No, but it was the mom. Who's the mom?
Oh, Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Who is Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy. And if anyone wants to read about that, you can get Howie's book, Kennedy Babylon.
Thank you. Her father was Honey Fitz.
I always like when they mention Rose Kennedy because my mom, when she read both of Howie's books, she said to me her favorite tabloid-esque story in them was how she used to make the nurses bring their own coffee.
Right.
Because she was so cheap.
They also had to unplug the clocks when they left Hyannisport in the fall and Palm Beach in the spring because they didn't want to waste the electricity.
It's just a new level of cheap. It really is.
There are a lot of other stories like that.
The tuna, Howie.
Yeah, on Fridays when Catholics were required to eat fish, not meat, the Kennedys would have lobster, and the help would have canned tuna fish.
Such nice people.
Yes, they love the common folk like you and me. Thank you, Grace.
Thanks, Howie.
You know what I miss? A true, real break, not a running away from your life break where you go hide in the bathroom or you throw your phone in the drawer or endless downtime. I mean, a break that feels earned, a shortcut that gives you gives yourself a break that makes your life truly easier without sacrificing the end result. That's my experience with HelloFresh. HelloFresh lets me skip the grocery store, the crowds, the traffic, the annoying cart with the broken wheel. And of course, that's one of the minor irritations nowadays, the mask, the Karens, the social distancing. And I don't have to sacrifice delicious meals not going to the grocery store. It isn't about takeout or some space food you microwave for 10 minutes. These are whole restaurant quality meals made with fresh, pre-portioned ingredients that you can prepare in as little as 20 minutes. Right, Taylor?
Yep, they're very, very easy and they're very intuitive. And I was looking at the site yesterday, Howie. They have different difficulty levels. There's easy, there's intermediate, and there's more expert level recipes that they offer. And if you're, the simplest of cooks, you don't have much experience in the kitchen, you might find yourself browsing through the easier intermediate levels of cooking. Mm-hmm. But for those who are more adventurous and more risky in the kitchen with their food, definitely try some of the expert meals. But everything's laid out, so even an idiot like me can cook a nice dinner.
HelloFresh sends all the ingredients right to your door and delivers them contact-free. You also get easy-to-follow recipe cards with pictures at every step. With more than 25 chef-created recipes to pick from each week, you'll never run out of meals to try. They even have the spices with them. So if you don't have these semi-exotic spices, they come right with it, and you'll get to learn what you like or dislike, and it just makes you a better cook, and it gives you more variety down the road, whatever you decide to do. Something else you can feel good about: HelloFresh is 28% cheaper than shopping at your local grocery store. Go to HelloFresh.com/Howie12 and use code Howie12 to get 12 free meals. That's a great deal, including free shipping. That's code Howie12 at HelloFresh.com/Howie12 for 12 free meals. HelloFresh.com/Howie12, code Howie12. I'm Howie Carr.
When Howie's on, every radio is a magic radio.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by the Howie Carr VIP Studio Experience. Tickets are now available with experiences beginning in May. To order, go to HowieCarrShow.com and click on the VIP tab.